cannot cheat death. It's inevitable. And in this instance, it began going after each and every person that was supposed to die that night. I think we can all agree with the fact that Final Destination movies have unlocked very weird but inventive fears. I don't know how they come up with that, but I'm just like, what? Why? Why am I scared of the extension in my house? Why am I scared of the door? Everybody knows to stay away from any truck that has wood, bars, tape whatsoever. Like, it's just a no. And it's all thanks to Final Destination. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And this installation still comes with that. So for those who are not familiar with the Final Destination franchise or plot or storyline, technically it's a series of different films following different people, some strangers, some related, some friends, who find themselves dying very strange deaths. Like, they go through like different processes of trying as much as possible to stay alive or to keep the people that they love alive one way or the other, but somehow always fail, and the deaths are so gruesome and honestly sometimes unrealistic, because it's like, why, how, from where to where? But very satisfying to watch. I hope I don't sound like a creep. Maybe not satisfying, just entertaining to watch, please. But anyways, technically what this installation does is it explores a more intimate scenario. So in the previous or past installations of Final Destination, we weren't really as invested in who these people were or their story or whatnot. We just knew that they were going to die, and every time there was like one main character that was trying to prevent all of those deaths from happening. It was more about how extreme and imaginative that the death scenes were, and I guess just that constant, appeal to see whether or not these people are able to actually defeat death. So apparently what they are doing is they are now giving us an origin story as to who these people were, why they needed to die, and how they are somewhat linked. What it does is it now delves into like a more family-oriented scenario where it technically follows the life of a college student who continuously has these dreams about like her grandmother dying in a 500 feet tall tower. So she wakes up every night to that dream. She can't sleep. Her grades are failing. She now eventually decides that, you know what, I actually need to get to the root of this. So she goes home to ask about her grandmom, because apparently everybody hates her grandmother because she's crazy. Why is she crazy? Because she believes that death is after her and her entire family. So technically what Stephanie keeps seeing in her dream is what was supposed to happen on the day of that incident. But her grandmother, Iris, saw into the future, I guess, and, was able to prevent people from dying that day. But as we all know, or as they've made us to believe, you cannot cheat death. It's inevitable. And in this instance, it began going after each and every person that was supposed to die that night. Hence, all the films of Final Destination. So essentially, everybody we've watched die in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth installation of Final Destination somehow comes from the people who survived the incident 50 years ago. Either the survivors themselves or their children or their grandchildren. As long as you're linked to the people who were in that restaurant 50 years ago by blood, you gotta die. Okay, so that's literally what Bloodlines is about. Try explaining to the rest of your family that the reason why people are dying in your family is from a curse from 50 years before, and death is after them. I know that stuff like that would actually, if you're Nigerian, you believe it, that's for sure. We don't used to play with that kind of thing. Like, you said, okay, fine, we're going to church for deliverance, that's it. But try explaining that to white people or Americans, or people who just naturally don't have to or haven't dealt with this kind of scenarios before. So obviously they called her crazy too. This is the definition of, if you're leaving anything behind, please don't leave generational curses and trauma. We don't want none of that. Okay, like, bro, why are you leaving like trails of death and suffering and whatnot? Like, who wants that? So it's not just the existential crisis of, oh my God, am I gonna die? I don't want to die and whatnot, but more about making the most of the moments that you do have. And in this case, it showed how you can try to rebuild lost and destroyed relationships and technically be there for and with the ones that you love. As much as it's gruesome, it felt like they were bringing it to a wholesome conclusion compared to the other plots and storylines. So as much as I like to say that that is the reason why you should go and watch Bloodlines and that's what makes it stand out, I still have to admit that to an extent, the emotional weight that they were trying to create sort of clashed with the traditional tone of all the other films. When you're developing character and relationships and all of that, you're going to make the audience more invested in them and in the outcome of whatever the relationship is or their life outcome in this case. So it made their deaths a bit more tragic than thrilling, which some Final Destination fans may not entirely like, because a lot of people are just coming to have a good time watching all these insane deaths, and I guess also sort of updating their survival skills and being able to identify what and who's you're up because you just might not know, your hair dryer might kill you. I think essentially what I'm trying to say is that it was an ambitious and different move and a different angle, which can be enjoyed to an extent, but I feel like them trying to merge, drama with comedy and then the horror, and some parts of the film didn't entirely blend into that mix as well as it probably should have. Like, I think maybe my favorite scene was the tattoo parlor, the way that they built it up to that point. Even though he wasn't supposed to die for reasons that we eventually find out later, which was a good one, I can't lie. It had me there. That's what I'm saying. Like, the build up was really good. Finding Iris to the entire gardening scene, that was so beautiful. Like, my anxiety was at its peak. I was like, oh my God, this is gonna happen. Oh my God, oh my God. It was satisfying. And then we now move on to the tattoo parlor. I was like, how do you even think of stuff like this? At this point, everything literally is scary, fam, because your ceiling fan, your piercings. Honestly, that scene made me thankful that I don't have any more piercings aside the one that they gave me at birth, honestly, because I was like, But anyways, point is that they built it up so well. And then the twist where it's like, oh, he didn't die and he wasn't supposed to die because the mother was playing some hanky-panky with a neighbor or something. But from that moment on, the plot just lost its way. I don't know what happened. The third act of the film was disappointing. It's even from the third, I think like from the second act even, leading up to the third act was disappointing. The first act, like half of the film, chef's kiss. The rest, I don't know what's going on there. It just felt like the film just took an L from there for some reason. Like, that should have been the build up to, the climax, but rather than that, it had the opposite effect. I don't know why, but it felt like they were not serious anymore, which is weird because it's supposed to elicit the opposite feeling, right? Like, they are actually the most serious now, but I don't feel it. I mean, the MRI machine and all of that was a bit, because like, what? Your third act should be your bang. Like, it literally should leave such an impact on your audience, even if it's comedy, even if it's horror, whatsoever it is. But this one just didn't do it for me. It was all right, And I think the part that even now, the icing on the cake was like the terrible CGI towards it. Because I'm like, what? What? Like, you guys are just taking the piss. at this point. It didn't seem to me like the proper conclusion, which I hope it is, because I don't think we need another installation, guys, please. I think I speak for everybody when I say Final Destination franchise has come to an end. It should come to an end, because at this point, I don't even know what they want to do again. They've already tried it all. They've tried it all to the point of creating a family story out of it. So there's nothing more for you guys to do. You've killed them all, as a matter of fact. There's nobody in their bloodline that still lives. Except they now want to do a spin-off off of JB, but we all know that Todd is no longer with us. He died last year, unfortunately. So they can't even do that. So yeah, I'm glad that it's over, hopefully, because you never know with these people. But listen, all I can say is go and watch it if you haven't, But if you're not a fan of horror, if you don't like gore, and if you don't like obviously watching people die, then just take my review for what it is. In conclusion, Final Destination Bloodlines is, I would say it's somewhat a worthy addition to the franchise. I don't even think it's the best in the franchise, to be honest. But they technically gave us perspective as to what was happening and why. It was a good origin story, and Death was like, I will show you Pepe. But I do wish that, the third act had a bit more punch to it, It felt like they got lazy towards the end of the film. That's it. This is the part where I ask you to
like and subscribe and all the things.
Don't even listen. Hey, I know this is when you people now change the video. Now scroll and go past. Don't do it. If not, death could come for you. God forbid death will not come for you in Jesus' name. But basically, what I'm saying is you have to support me. So just like my video, comment, share with people or on your platforms, and subscribe. I would appreciate the love. So if you're looking for any more film reviews, I have an entire playlist reviewing films that you can check out. And if you're looking for what to watch, I also have a video on the top 10 films that came out in the month of April. I do have to say that that video was shot and posted before I saw some of the films, because obviously they hadn't come out yet. So some of those films had no business being in the top 10. I apologize. But I think you should still go and check it out anyways, and just add it to your watch list. You would have a thrill.